What's up, dirty plant hoes and all you dirty little plant enthusiasts, you? It is I, Rachel, your plant madam. Today we're going to talk about propagating begonias. So a lot of you have asked for it. I'm finally going to give it to you. It's not super complicated, so I hope you're not mad at me for holding out this long when it's not that complicated. It can be really easy if you have just a couple of tools. You're gonna need some sphagnum moss, you're gonna need like a Tupperware of some sort, and you're gonna need a couple of begonias. Casey is going to follow me around the house and we are going to select a whole bunch of begonias that we want to propagate, all different kinds, some cane begonias, some Rex begonias, some sensitive terrarium begonias.
Shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes.
And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to propagate all of them in the exact same container. If you guys like informational videos, be sure and give this video a thumbs up because it helps me with the algorithm and it's free, and you know that your cheap ass likes free things. And I hope that after this video, you guys will be begonia propagating pros. That ain't gonna need no man or woman, whatever. You ain't gonna need nobody, all right? Let us propagate the begonias. So I've got a bowl and I've got some scissors. I'm gonna go around the house and try to collect as many different kinds of begonias as I can, but I'm gonna propagate all of them the same way. So what I'm gonna try to make sure I show you is just where I cut the begonias and kind of like why I'm cutting them there. So the first one I'm gonna cut is this Begonia Malachostica. You can see it's kind of scraggly. I only have one of these, so I want a couple more of them and I need some for the prop shop. I'm gonna be putting these in really small pots. So I don't want like a huge, I'm not gonna cut it way back here because I don't want a giant floppy propagation. I want it to be a really full looking propagation. So I'm gonna cut it up kind of high. So on a wandering type of begonia like this, these little knuckles here are nodes just like on any other plant. So on a philodendron, you've got nodes. And on this begonia, you also have nodes here, here. You kind of just have to look and feel for the knuckle. So I'm gonna cut right in between these two nodes. And this is gonna be my Malachostica propagation. This is a cane begonia. And you guys, I'm not the best with types of begonias. I'm not the most scientific, but I do know I have them and I know how I propagate them. Just like on the Malachostica, I don't want some big, long, giant, gangly propagation. So I'm gonna try to cut it kind of tight to where it's not super duper long. So nodes on this, just like there's nodes on anything else. Here's a node, here's a node. I'm gonna cut right underneath this node right here. I always cut my props at an angle. Let's see, here's a different type of begonia right here. I think this is more of like a rhizomaceous begonia. Please don't roast me in the comments section. Like I said, I'm not super duper educated. With these types of begonias, I'm not gonna actually cut any stem at all. All I'm gonna do is cut a leaf. So you can also do this with all your other begonias, but I just kind of like to have more of a plant when I can. So on this one's called, I think Kit Kat, Tiger Paw, something like that. I'm actually gonna take two of this one. This one's really pretty. So just cutting along the leaf stem. No node, no nothing, just the leaf and the stem. That's all we need. So I got two of these. This is our aquaponics setup. How we propagated these Begonia whitei right here is the same as I showed you with the first two. We just cut it at a node. We stuck it into what this would be considered like a water culture or water propagation, and it was easy as that. You cut it at the node, you stick it in a cup of water or in leca or whatever it is that you're doing, and then boom, you've got yourself another begonia. This is a really smart thing also to do if you're ordering an expensive begonia and you get it in the mail. One of the best things about begonias is they're so easy to propagate. So when you do get a more expensive begonia in the mail, you can put down what they call leaf insurance right away. So as soon as you get your begonia, like let's say I got this begonia and I was worried about it, it was really expensive, and let's say only this much is coming up out of the pot. So to get an insurance leaf, I would probably take, not this one, because it's the oldest, and I don't think it has as much energy. But I'd probably take this middle-aged one right here. Not the freshest, not the newest baby, not the ones that haven't had a lot of time to harden off, but this middle-aged guy right here. You don't need any stem, you just boom. So that's all you gotta get. The difference between these types of propagations, so just these plain leaves that I took, the difference between these and a propagation like this is that this propagation is going to take a lot longer. For some reason, just plain leaf propagation is going to take a really long time. But if you have a stem, like if it's a cane type of begonia, and you root the stem, it seems to take off a lot quicker. You'll start getting new leaf and new growth a lot quicker than if you do this in spec. And you guys will be able to track it because we'll be doing updates. So you'll see these ones that you give more to are gonna grow a lot faster. We're gonna do some terrarium ones. Everything's really, really dusty in here because I do my nails and the dust goes everywhere, so it's a thing. It's also real life, so you don't have to feel so bad about your nasty ass house. You're welcome. This is a Begonia Malachostica. I'm gonna make a similar cut on this. I'm not gonna go super low because remember, we don't want some floppy, weird, I'm not gonna say that. You don't want some funky, weird propagation. So you want something that's kind of tight, small, you know what I mean? You know, think about how Botanicaz sells their little baby begonias. I know you couldn't see the cut that I was making because that's a really full plant. So on this Malachostica, here's the node right here. And if you're familiar with any other types of plants, then you're gonna identify these nodes pretty quickly. That's the Malachostica. Let's take a few more terrarium begonia cuttings, and I'll show you guys that propagating sensitive plants is just as easy as propagating regular greenhouse grown type of begonias you'd buy at a Lowe's or a Walmart. Okay, so this next one is called Begonia Xanthina. It has grown really wonky. I've taken one propagation of it already, and a cool thing about begonia propagations is it always seems like the propagation that you make at home does a lot better in your home environment than the one you bought. So this begonia, it probably will never do as well for me as one that I propagate and then grow in my home. There's just something about a baby that you raise in your own home environment that just works better. It's also just a good idea in general to propagate your begonias if you like your begonias, because I already have one of these propagating, so I'm gonna skip this one actually. I'm gonna do this one. Because this one right here, I'm not sure how to propagate this. Now, when it comes, this is a Begonia rubro-punctata. I'm guessing that you would propagate this just the same as you would propagate other begonias, but I'm not sure. So what we're gonna try is, we are going to try a leaf propagation on this and see if we can't propagate it just like anything else. I've never experimented with this, so this will be us experimenting together. So this leaf right here is the oldest existing leaf because it's the furthest back towards the root system. And then you have this one, which is the next oldest leaf. So what I'm gonna do is, I think I'm gonna pick this one. And I'm gonna pick it because it's not the oldest, it's not all tired and worn out, even though this isn't damaged. But I'm gonna pick this one because I don't like it. I think it's ugly. It has a little deformity right here, so I'd like to trim it off anyways. And the fact that it's ugly is not gonna keep it from propagating well. So we'll just start out with a fresh plant from that leaf. So I'm going to cut it right along the stem. I'm not exactly sure if this one's gonna propagate, but we'll find out together. Boop, fell right in my bowl. It's pretty, huh? So this is Begonia Malachostica. And this was not a cheap begonia, and I'm sorry if I'm shaking, but I'm hovering. If you look closely at the soil here, you can see this is like a type of mold. They call it like a spider web mold. It's really gross. It actually forms like a sheet on top of your begonia. This is a pretty common problem with begonias, especially when they don't get enough proper ventilation. This was in a begonia bubble, just like this, and it wasn't happy. This mold started accumulating. So the first thing that I did was I took it out of the terrarium because I did not want my other begonias to be affected by it. So I
contagious.
Well, the mold spores will spread. So, and you don't want that. So I put it in its own private area, private bubble. But the first thing that you need to do when you're seeing your begonias start to suffer like this is take a propagation, which I should have done probably last week, but I didn't. Same thing on this. You don't have to cut along any kind of node or anything. I'm just going to cut the stem right along here. There's a reason why I picked the oldest leaf on this plant. That's because I only have 2 viable leaves left. And this one's just a babe. So it's not really pulling its weight yet. And this one is like the only guy that's really doing a good job right now. So I took the oldest leaf for a reason on this one. The next thing that I'm gonna do to try to kind of stop this spider webby type of mold from accumulating on this plant is very, 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 very gently pull it up out of its pot. Do not mess with the roots whatsoever. Peel off all of the topsoil and make a whole new layer of topsoil on the top, because you do not want to leave anything left right here that had the mold on it in the first place. Then you need to be very thorough and inspect the stems and the leaves of your begonia, because it will have probably traveled up to the bottom parts of the leaves and up on the stems and things like that. If you guys have ever used my spider mite method, I use the same exact method to demold my begonias, except for I don't use any alcohol spray. I just use a dry brush, and I just work my best to de-web the entire begonia, and we go from there. I get a new layer of topsoil, and we just try from there. Winston is going to be like the star of the show, because we were so close to each other just now. I didn't realize he was snoring that loud till the very end. So this is a typical tote that I would propagate my begonias in. It's not clean. It's not a clean type of ordeal. There's lots of like dirt, like dirty water down in there. Once I've got my begonia propagations in here, I put the lid on. And this is like a super crucial part of propagating begonias, because if you do not have the lid on and you are not trapping the humidity inside, you're gonna have a high failure rate, I think, of propagating begonias, because it's really hard. I tried a lot when I first started in plants and just left them all out in the open. I don't think I got any of them to really survive. So you need a tote unless you live in the Amazon. So this is an empty tote right here. It's really gross. There's lots of like algae and water and dirt. Looks pretty nasty, which is perfect because we're gonna do nasty stuff in here. Unfortunately, I ordered the wrong size plastic pots. These are too small, but what are you gonna do? So, I mean, they are tiny. Which size did we think we ordered?
2-inch.
Well, this is 2-inch.
We thought we were getting 2-inch, and those were like 1-inch.
I don't know. They're very small. I've got a big clear dollar store bowl, same bowls I use for my begonia bubbles, and I have just put some spag in it. I was probably shipping plants, so I just had some spag and some water laying around. If you guys are not familiar with spag, so the first thing I want to do is take my little pot, grab me a little handful of my dirty spag, wring it out, push it in the little pot, okay? Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my fingernail and kind of like burrow a little hole in there for my stem to go. Because if you just go pushing on top of spag, you're gonna bust that stem, and you don't wanna do that. So we got a little hole. Now we're gonna take one of our propagations and we are going to put the stem in the hole. You got that, kids? You put the stem in the hole, and then I'm gonna take my fingers, and around this stem, I'm going to mush it. I'm not breaking the stem, I'm just kind of making it to where it's nice and stable. See how the leaf is standing up by itself in there? I try to get it also as far down into the pot as I can. See, these pots are so shallow, it's just kind of a joke, but at the end of the day, this is my begonia propagation. I'm just gonna set this to the side, work on my other ones. Same deal. You get you a little pot. We'll do a cane begonia next, so you can see how it's a little bit different. Squeeze it out, shove it in, Don't be stingy, Mark. Make a little hole in there, and we'll get us a, let's see. Here is a terrarium begonia, Malachostica. What I'm gonna do with this one is I'm just going to break off this bottom leaf because it's going to keep my stem from going far enough down in the hole. So now that there's no leaf there, I'm free to put it as deep as I want. See? All the way in the pot. Now we got a cute, tiny little Malachostica. I'm securing it by just kind of pushing the spag in and around the stem. And ta-da! You have a Malachostica propagation. Now these two terrarium begonias aren't any harder to propagate than an average begonia, like this one that you'd find in your local grocery store or Lowe's or anything like that. I'm going to peel off these bottom leaves, and this is probably too much stem. So I've got my cutters here. We've got teeny tiny little pots, and we need to be cognizant of that. I don't mind that the spag is dirty because the fertilizer that's in the soil is going to go into this sphagnum moss. And for most of these terrarium begonias, they don't get fish water. They only get distilled water. So having some dirty spag to plant them in actually gives them an opportunity to be fertilized in ways that all the other plants are getting fertilized, but they're not. So we're gonna take your regular cane begonia, just like our Malachostica. We're gonna stick it right in the hole, all the way down to the bottom of the pot. Then we're gonna tighten it up. And it's that easy, kids. These are the propagations that are gonna grow faster. These ones are the ones that are gonna take longer. So be sure and keep that in mind. We took a lot more plant on this one. So while you guys are chilling, I'm going to finish potting all of these up. Then I'm gonna show you what my tote looks like when I'm finished. So a lot of people do begonia propagations with just this leaf surface. They'll make cuttings of just the leaf, or they'll place the leaf flat on top of the surface and they'll cut along these veins right here. But I find that that type of propagation takes even longer than this type of propagation. It just seems like the more meat, the more substantive meat that you can give your plant when you're propagating it, the faster it's gonna push out new growth.
Done, drill sergeant? Go! Why did you put that weapon together so quickly, go?
You told me to, drill sergeant.
Here's all of our begonia propagations. I'm just gonna set them like so. Just kind of arrange them in my little Tupperware here, and you can see just how many begonia propagations I could fit in a tote like this. Your tote doesn't have to be this big, and as a matter of fact, you could have a tote, or you could have a Tupperware this big, fill it with spag, same principle, and just stick your plants down in there. It's really kind of something that you can kind of take personal liberty in how you want to do it once you get comfortable with it. Then the most important part is we seal the deal and we put the lid on because these babies need lots of humidity. Okay, so I'm going to put this Tupperware right here. This lighting is a little close and it does bleach some of my propagations. However, my propagations grow really quickly also. Sometimes to kind of temper that, I bought some shade cloth and I put shade cloth on top of here if I notice that the begonias are starting to look really bleached. For the most part, they do pretty good. So this is how close I put these this artificial lighting. I really want these guys to get lots of light. The room's a good temperature in here. This is like my plant propagation room, so it's like 72 degrees.
72 to 75.
72, 75. I'm gonna keep it that way all winter so that all the plants in here.
60% humidity in the room.
60% humidity in the room. So it's all looking really good. I'm gonna show you guys. So this is the end of the project. So in a couple weeks or like a month, maybe I'll make it a month, right at a month, we'll do an update so you can see, did I lose any? Why I thought I lost them, if they're doing good, which ones are doing good, and things like that, and we'll have a look at it. I'm going to show you one of my earlier begonia propagations that I did on that one that we looked at in my bedroom called Begonia Xanthina, and it had the big disc leaves. It's a little limp from not being watered. The moss is pretty dry. But the Begonia Xanthina that you guys saw in my bedroom, the leaves were curled pretty dramatically. They would curl up a lot like this. And I think that's just because it's the begonia that I bought. But this one I propagated and I've grown it in my home environment, and I know it's floppy and it's a little bleached because it has too much light, but you notice how much more robust these leaves look in comparison. That's because this begonia in particular, let me show you some baby leaves. That's because this begonia in particular was grown in my house, in my environment, in my tote boxes and things like that. So this begonia will probably always be hardier than the one I bought, if that makes sense. Really, really cool. This is not even the mature state of this plant, so it's a really, really cool plant. You guys should look it up. Begonia Xanthina. Okay, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for coming. Bye. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed already and you want to become a part of this Dirty Plant Hoe family, be sure and hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, be sure and like today's video. It really helps out, and you can even share this video with some of your friends who are new to begonias, but they want to make sure they have a great backup plant plan. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will catch you on the flip side. Peace out. Later, taters. Bye. You wanna say bye? Do you wanna say bye? These are goodbyes from Winston. Yes. Tell them to have a good week. Yes. What else did he say? You could have as many treats as you want. Yes. Oh, yes. Be safe. Yeah. And be healthy. Oh, and he loves you. Bye.
I am burning it down.
And now I would like to say a big thank you and shout out to all of my monthly supporters, my dirty plant enthusiasts: Abby Gilbert, Ace Cadet, Alexandra Chilton, Alexis Solly, Always Propagating, Amber Christian, Amber V, Amy Adwan, Amy Powell, Amy Sutton, Andrea Bruce, Anna Dreesen, April Steer, Ashley Caraveo, Barbara Lindbergh, Beauty Isn't Perfect, Bryn, Carl Jr., Carly Grinnell, Casey Dillon, Kath with Plants, Chamomile Camille, Charlotta R, Chris Felice, Chrissy Spencer, Colleen Coyle Levy, Colleen Hatton, Courtney Martin, Crazy Plant Lady, Cuties with Cardi, Danielle Holt, Darren Heppel, Daryl Lee, Diana Anderson, Eliza Haney, Elizabeth Gracieful, Ellen Louise Pasco, Emma Castle, Evie, Felicia Yeager, Fenner Lamb, Goncalo Martins, Gretchen Ward, Haley Hetrick, Haley Martin, Haley Kester, Heather Summers, Heidi Christofferson, Hells Bells, Holy Coley, Houseplanty Goodness, Isabella H, Jamie Ellis, Jake Rowe, Jana Vieira, Jay Rowe, Jedi KCC, Jenna Maria, Jennifer Banner, Jessica Viola, Jessica D, Joe Howard, John Alexander, Joseph L. Simmons V, Caitlin Card, Cassandra Hines, Caitlin Harvey, Kathy Walters, Kathy W, Kaylee Logan, Kelly Hodgson, Kim Toby, Kimberly Mossman, Not Dude, Christy Bim, Crystal Wang, Kaya Hauser, Lauren Loves Leaves, Lauren Loves Plants, Life's a Garden, Light Owl, Lillianne Morin, Lily Rose, Lynn Therese, Liz B, Lulu's Leaves, Mara Baker, Mary Marr, Megan Moyna, Medusa's Mess, Meeks, Megan Lilly, Mev Ham, MF Webb, Mia Sewell, Michael Hart, Michelle Reed, Michelle Waters, Monica Allison, Morgan Cluck, Mortessa, My Clean Leaves, Nadine Guzman, Natural State Ashley, Nets to Humphreys, Nicholas Constant, Nikki Toller, Peanuts Plants, Rachel Sharp, Raylene Hillhouse, Ricky Molbeck, Reese's Roots, Safia Bahadir, Samatha Teparity, Sarah, Seth Miller, Showers, ASMR, Sophia Rogers, Sophie Botting, Steph Miller, Steph W, Tanya Hautsager, T, Teresa Lady T Oakley, Tiffany Wright, Tugba Toss, Turquoise Fibers and Foliage, Tyler Kersey, Verdigris Dreams, Bernie Zoop, Victoria Fonseca, and Wesley Limentino. And now I would like to say a big giant thank you and a dirty nasty shout out to all of my Dirty Plant Hoes who get to participate in our monthly lives and our official Dirty Plant Hoe Purge page on Facebook. Seven Puggies, Cindy C, Alana Treese, Allie Wells, Allison Havens, Amber May Fleming, Amber Beth, Amy Walton, Amy Baxter, Amy Hatch, Andrew Wolf, Andrea Hewitt, Anna D, April Robinson, Arlisa B, Ashley Noland, Aubrey Puff, Autumn, Becca Panyard, C. Woe, Caitlin Phillips, Celia Stephan Chelsea Clifton, Cheyenne Burnett, Christy Stewart, Sierra Jones, Danny Sprague, Deanne Santos, Darylyn Music, Denise Tomer, Diana Warner, Donna Ratcliffe, Eliza B. Coe, Emily Cefalu, Emily Forhay, Emma Wiley, Lawrence Ramirez, Gab, Gina the Great, Gingerly Life, Haley Eblin, Heather Lamb, Heather Worrell, Honey Bird, Houseplant Heather, Houseplants and Hip Hop, Jen Dereha, Jennifer Rouse, Jenny Vanderbilt, Jessica F., Jessica Stanford, Jill C., Jordan Delaney, Juan Z. C., Justin Hartley, Casey Wardell, Caitlin Guavi, Carissa Sproles, Carla Diaz, Catherine Sproles, Katie, Katrin, Kelly Rice, Kiri Kelly, Christy D, Lauren SJI, Lyra Juno, Lindsay Daniel, Maggie Porter, Mary Boots, Mark Strahl, Megan Earls, Megan Gowdy, Melissa Hartog, Mel's Planty Plants, Michaela Rags, Michelle G, My Soiled Planties, Nicholas Caruso, Nicole McCaw, Nikki Grilly, Odd Avocado Tree, Olivia Wise, Paul Zang, Pete B, Phoebe DeBover, Plant Princess, Plantastica, Simonetta, QR, Reagan Cornelius, Real Estate Tulsa, Rhiannon C, Rian Chuckasang, Rico 9383, Riley Elizabeth, Robin Rootin Leaf, Sammy Joe Ruby, Sarah G, Sarah J, Sarah Jones, Sasha Arujo, Spotted Oreo 10, Stacy Anderson, Tanya Von Black, Tara Peterson, Tara's Plants, Tropics in the Midwest, The Fiber Circus, The Hatter's Madness, The Plants Meow, The Turtle, Tracy Buzzle, Tyler Frakes, Valerie, Victoria Feltenberger, Whitney Eden, Whitney McHugh, Wicked Witch Roxy, Will H, Winter Rose, and Zachary Young. Oh my God. I love you guys. I hope that you have a fantastic, wonderful week. Be good to yourself, be good to others. It's not about who they are, it's about who you are. We love you. Bye.
You know what I think? I think you should go home to Greenbow, Alabama!